Most recently, I rewatched a movie that was, it's an older movie, but one I realized it kind of spoke to like the state of like the age of the church that we're thinking about right now that we're in. And what's funny is the movie was the movie Cars. Because I rewatched it again because my little nephew loved his Lightning McQueen car, always went with him wherever he went to, always went with him. But the thing is, I started thinking about the movie. I started thinking about, you have this race car who believes that the only thing in life for him is winning and championships. And then he comes across this little town that challenges his way of life, And the more he's around it, the more he comes to like it, and actually starts to live there. And what's interesting is when you think about that movie is this little town, like everything around it started changing. And everything around it was just different. But that stayed the same. And when Lightning McQueen came to it, it's like it's this world he'd never known before. And he fell in love with it. And I think, in our world today, we have a very similar thing going on around us. This world that we knew, where what we called Christendom, where like the Christian way of life, the Judeo-Christian ethos and everything that just informs the world is now changing around us. And we've actually, we've acknowledged, we've walked into like a newer understanding of the age of the church that we're in. Where we're no longer what's called in the age of Christendom, where like the understanding of Christian values become like is somehow influencing the world. But now we're now living what's called a new apostolic age, where we're being called to inform the world again. And we're being called to live in the world in a new way. Because, and it's because of this reason. As things change, as times change, there's one thing that never changes, and that's God. That never changes. And he teaches us at all times how to live each day. For Jesus today says, whoever loves me will keep my word. My Father will love him, and we will make our dwelling with him. So when Jesus says if you love me, you'll keep my word, he's reminding us to love means to love like him. And to love like him means we put other people in front of our own thing for us, but we make sure others around us are taken care of. We sacrifice for others. Our goal is to help others flourish. Because what happens is this, is that when we love like that, God dwells with us. He lives with us. So us who are followers of Jesus, us disciples, it means us as disciples, we dwell with him. Disciples dwell with God. And I think when we think about it that way, no matter what's going on around us, we always have God at the very center of who we are. And we become kind of like that Radiator Springs town. That when people come to it, they find something that always comes to know, like this is what we truly are supposed to be. So there's kind of two things there. The first is this. First is, how are we allowing God to live in our hearts, to dwell with us? How are our hearts being changed by him? How are our hearts being changed by him? Because he's dwelling with us. The second is this, is that we understand that all of us are all along the range of like discipleship range, you know? We have some people that are starting off, some people are trying to figure it out, some people who, who've gone a little farther along, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a borrow an analogy I heard from our new archbishop. He said, think of a pool. We have some people who are sticking their toes in right now. There's some people in the 2 foot part of the pool, some people a little deeper, and some people that are swimming greatly within the deep end of the pool. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. But he said this, he goes, but we need those people who are swimming in the deep end of the pool to get out and walk to the shallow end and help people walk and learn how to swim the deep end. Because as disciples, dwelling with God means we love like him. We want other people to flourish and know God and know that encounter with him. What it also means is this, is that when people come to us, how are we welcoming them in to this great sacred encounter with God here? How are we showing them how God lives here? Because he lives with us. Not just inside this building, but truly who we are. How are we welcoming people in this great encounter with God? And knowing that as we welcome people in, everything we do, every ministry that we have at the liturgy helps facilitate that great encounter with Jesus. No matter if it's singing, or walking at the doors, or lecturing, or being an usher and welcoming people in, or even being a minister of the Eucharist. Every single one facilitates an encounter with Jesus. And every single one helps people to know that God lives here, because he lives with us first. So just know that we need more people to help that great sacred encounter with Jesus here. So we're going to ask people to really think about, how can I become a minister and facilitate that encounter with Jesus with people? And no matter where we are on that spectrum of part of discipleship, we all can be a part of that, because we're all helping each other walk that path. So I think that when we think about it, so the next time you see the movie Cars, think about it this way. Because how can we be like that Radiator Springs town? The town that when someone comes to it, shows them this new way of life where Jesus dwells with us, where disciples dwell with God. Because in doing so, we help people facilitate and live this great encounter that we won't be able to find anywhere else. Because of the life of Jesus living in you and in me. Just remember that. Us as followers of Christ, as disciples, dwell with God because we love like God. And Jesus reminds us then, the more that we welcome people into that sacred encounter, the more that we allow people to see God living inside of us. Think about that pool again now. You know how all public pools have a chain link fence right around it? There are many who are looking through the fence, wondering how to get in there. Are we going to keep that door locked? Or are we going to open it up? And allow people to come in and at least dip their toe into the area of discipleship. And how would we be waiting to help them walk, or swim, if you will, analogy, that path of discipleship. Because God dwells with us, and we as disciples dwell with God.